So many men are slaves and they don't even know it. They're too numb, too distracted, too in denial, too ashamed to admit it, or they're too busy pretending to be successful or tough that they can't even see it. They can be slaves to porn, slaves to people pleasing, slaves to the past, slaves to pain, to pretending. But deep inside, there's this sovereign king that's waiting to arise, waiting to expand, waiting to grow up from within all of that darkness. But few men actually know the way. Most men are raised by wounded boys in men's bodies, men that are never having the opportunity to mature, that they never knew their true nature. They never had a clear pathway to inner peace or power or real prosperity. You know, not the superficial kind of prosperity that most men are chasing today, but real prosperity that comes from within and works its way through to the outside. You know, many men are pursuing the outer, but they're avoiding the inner. They're numb. They're hiding what lurks inside. They're avoiding the pain that they feel, these long-held feelings of inferiority and insecurity. To distract themselves is their focus because of this grueling pain, this excruciating pain that they're carrying inside, or this darkness that they have not been able to bring light to. And so they deny their own divine identity. So what if the numbness that you're feeling, the feelings of unworthiness, the striving to prove yourself, or the sense of failure and disappointment isn't actually a weakness, but it's a signal that your masculine power is actually caged? Why is it that you keep sabotaging love, purpose, power? And even when you say you want it, it still seems to elude you. What if the man that you're meant to become is buried beneath everything you've been taught and trained to avoid? What if buried beneath this weak, insecure, and lost man lies an entirely new man that's waiting to be unleashed? So in this video, it's designed to initiate a transformation. It's not just to deliver information to you, but to create transformation through you. It's an experiential, interactive, and very real possibility of change in your life. This is modern man's path from a slave to a sovereign. And I've come face to face with some of the darkest conditions that man can encounter, conditions that nearly cost me my own life on multiple occasions, one where my heart actually stopped beating altogether. I've suffered deeply, but I have found a way out of that suffering, and I've been guiding others, both men and women, for over 25 years now to identify the mysterious factors that sabotage our lives and also how to transform them. If you're a man ready to level up, to move out of the pit that you've grown comfortable sitting in, and you're ready to rise to a new peak, then this video is for you. If you're a woman seeking to better understand today's man, his struggles, and how he can overcome and become the man that you've always known deep down exists, then this is going to open your eyes and your heart to that possibility more than ever. I'm going to deliver a ton of value here, and it would help me if you hit the like button to help me rank higher and reach more men and even the women that need to know this path. And if you value this type of content, feel free to subscribe. I'll be delivering something weekly that will absolutely be transforming for you and the people you love. So I thank you in advance for that. Let's dive in. And I'm Vince Michael, founder of the Invincible Kingdom. I'm going to share the 5 stages that a man goes through, the path from becoming a slave to a sovereign, to ultimately unleashing the invincible man within. And this invincible man within you is buried deeply, and we're going to uncover him in this video. So the first thing we're going to do is cover stage 1, which is the slave of self-illusion. And I'm going to briefly touch on the stages, then we're going to take a deeper dive and do some transformative work and inquiry together so that you can go deeper within yourself and make the difference that you're here to make. So stage 1, slave of self-illusion. This is where most men are living without even knowing it. This man thinks he's free, but he's actually following patterns built on fear, fantasy, and false power. In this stage, our strength's performative, it's masking insecurity, shame, or rage. We avoid truth And we're staying busy trying to outrun this silence that haunts us from within. This is the most dangerous stage, not because it's painful, but because it feels normal. You don't even realize at this stage what's ruling you. You've actually confused comfort with control, and your real power is buried beneath the noise. This is not weakness. It's actually deception. And the longer that you stay here, the more you forget who you really are. In stage 2, we're going to welcome the wounded warrior. This is the turning point, the great unveiling. This is where the mask begins to crack, but what's underneath isn't always easy to face. The warrior wants to fight, but doesn't yet know what's worth dying for. And if, they're really severely wounded, then this warrior is going to be self-sabotaging, self-abusing, basically masochistic to the core, very destructive to self. This is where the path and the battle actually begins at this stage. The world doesn't change, you realize, but you start to change from within. And when you change from within, things change around you. You'll either run from what you're feeling or you're going to face it. And brotherhood at this stage becomes essential, but the truth doesn't necessarily come easily. This stage is actually going to test you. This is where it's going to pull things out of you that you didn't know were still hiding. This is where men either numb out and retreat or lean in and become dangerous in the best way, right? The warrior becomes dangerous, not to the world or the people out there necessarily, although maybe if they're living lies and, out of integrity in major ways that are causing harm to others. But this is where the man becomes dangerous to the corruption that enslaves him from within. And in stage 3, this is where we liberate the addicted lover. This is where the ache for connection finally surfaces. The mask starts to crack, your heart starts to speak, the words that you have not been able to speak before, the unspoken comes forth. Your true lover doesn't want another fix or just to get high on some kind of quick connection. You actually want to feel all the way through to your core again. But the shadows at this stage still linger. Validation seeking is present. Emotional chaos can be in the form of neediness or rejection, hiding from intimacy. This part of the path actually requires a lot of courage, not to conquer though, but the courage to be seen. Real intimacy begins when you stop performing and you start allowing love in. You start receiving and welcoming love. And that's how you start to mature. And the mature lover is not chasing love, but he becomes a space for it. And then we're going to cover later stage 4. And this is where we awaken the avoidant alchemist. This is where your inner world is refined, not by force, but by fire. The alchemist wakes when your manipulation masks are no longer working. The search for meaning becomes a call to transformation, but the shadows try to hold on. And there's overanalyzing, there's avoidance, there's abstraction of thought, really ungrounded and disconnected. At this stage, we need to awaken the alchemist. And that's when you start seeing your pain as raw material that can be transmuted from worthlessness to actual wealth. You stop running from the sacred work that you must do within yourself, and you focus on actually becoming whole. The true alchemist doesn't try to escape the fire. He actually steps into it. This is where pain becomes purpose and power, and wisdom starts to unfold. The last stage we're going to cover is stage 5. This is where we raise the sleeping sovereign, or the king. This is the integration of everything that came before. You're no longer avoiding your pain. You're actually actively transmuting it with the power of the alchemist, mature and operational within you. You're no longer seeking control like a tyrant, just trying to dominate everything in your world. You actually create with clarity. You're not dominating. You're governing with presence and with pristine precision. This is not the finish line, though. It's really the beginning of you leaving your legacy. You're not reacting at this stage. You're responding. You're not chasing, you're creating. You don't dominate, but you lead with presence, okay? That is the power of the sovereign. That's the power of the king. But here's where it gets a little different than we're focused and used to. Reaching this stage isn't about actually doing more. As the king, it's about becoming less of what you're not. Surrendering the old, surrendering into the power within. It's more of a releasing and a giving up than it is a claiming or taking, right, by force. At this stage, a man is giving up the chasing of power altogether and actually becoming the source of it from within. So pay close attention, because once you know where you are, you're going to finally see the path that's been waiting for you. The truth will actually set you free, but first, the truth may piss you off. And why is that? Well, you got to first admit that you're living a lie. And once you explore yourself fully and authentically, you're going to find things that were never really true to begin with. They're what have been trapping you all along. In this video, I'm going to give you the space to come face to face with the lies that you've believed without feeling ashamed, without feeling bad, without feeling wrong, and finally break free to walk in the long lost design of who and what you truly are as a man. If you like what I'm about to reveal, and it's only going to get a lot richer as we dive in and explore yourself through this, transformationally speaking, would you consider hitting the like button? And if you love this type of content, consider subscribing and sharing with someone that you know, another man or even a woman who could benefit, because this material is extremely valuable for everyone. Somebody is going to need what is being shared here. So let's open up with a little bit of personal sharing so that you get a sense of why I'm doing this, why I'm here. I know what it's like to be a slave. I was 10 years old when I watched my mother being severely abused by who would soon become my stepfather. And as a teenager, I carried that helplessness like a curse that was very heavy, with the shame that I really couldn't protect her. And also I was ashamed that I was terrified of the man who hurt her. And I felt like I should be bigger, more powerful. So I turned to gangs, I turned to drugs, I turned to crime and violence, trying to feel powerful, but I was lost. I was actually really numb inside. I was chained to pain, but pretending to be powerful. In 1999, I almost died from a drug overdose. That was like the culmination of the death sentence that I had cast on myself. That moment shattered everything. I finally realized that my identity as a criminal was a facade. I admitted for the first time in my life that I was living a lie. I began seeking truth, not having any clue what that was, but I knew that I wanted it. I went to the library, I started reading books, I found this practice of Zen Buddhist meditation while studying other spiritual teachings and religions, which led to this ultimately beautiful and mystical encounter with God within me. I saw in that moment the oneness of humanity, the eternal presence that lives inside of all and is really all of us fundamentally. This changed me, but it did not free me. It actually gave me a new sense of purpose and a new mission. It formed within me a passion, this passion to help others encounter this glorious reality that's living within us all. So that was just the beginning, though. I would go on to climb various mountains, reach different peaks, and then fall hard into valleys, into very dark and despairing pits. I never saw them coming. I've been through broken engagements. I've had failed marriage, a series of relationships that revealed how deeply addicted I was to needing a woman just so I could feel whole. I've built businesses and watched them collapse. Financial failure left me feeling ashamed and worthless more than one time in my life. And I've had to navigate my way out of all of that. I have struggled with lust, being more of a predator towards women than a protector and an honorable man. I've gotten addicted to gaming till 5 a.m. at times, spending hours in a virtual world while completely neglecting my real responsibilities. And then in 2018, I hit another wall. My business was crashing hard. I was going deeper into debt, and I was in a relationship that exposed a childhood wound that I had never fully faced. Connected to my mother and my stepfather, back when I started at 10 years old with that drama and trauma that was just really ravaging my soul. I was really anxious and broke at this time. I was disconnected from friends and family. I was in a new state. I was buried in shame, complete discouragement. My girlfriend and her daughter, they loathed me, and they had no shame about letting me know. It was a very low point in my life, one where I actually thought that the only way out was to end my life. And I had the gun to my head. All I had to do was pull the trigger. I was really scared. I was really hurt. I saw no future. And that was when I started to explore other possibilities. I found some men's work. I was invited to join some groups, which I did. And then eventually, as that inspired me so deeply, I started my own. And that changed everything. I didn't realize how much I actually distrusted men because of my dad, my mom's partners, the violence that I witnessed growing up. I was the lone wolf, but when I finally opened up to brotherhood, I found something that I didn't even know was missing. In 2020, I went on to lead men's groups consistently, and I trained others. I trained both men and women to lead their own groups, and I supported them along the way. And we were able to serve 182 different men and women in those groups for free that year of 2020 during COVID. It was amazing. Since then, I've worked with hundreds of men in different groups and one-to-one coaching and at different events that I've led and also participated in, and been a coach and support, or just somebody who just cared about others and contributed while I was there. I've listened to the stories of many different men. I've walked through the fire with them. I've been through this fire. I've lived it myself. I know what it takes to move from bondage to breakthrough. I live in a different space right now, my inner world, my outer world. I know what it's like to go from shame to strength, from slave to sovereign. And I'm here to lead other men through that same path. So you can see there's something that all men are seeking, something we all feel that we lost somewhere along the line, something that we think we'll find out in the world, in a relationship. Maybe it's drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, gaming for hours on end, or even working around the clock to further our business and career while avoiding how we really feel on the inside. Well, I have found what we are looking for, and I know where it is. I know that we need to experience it. It lives within you, but it's been buried within. So I also know how to lead men just like you to find what it is you're really looking for. And I love creating spaces for us to do that. So I'm about to show you a framework that allows us to further identify what has been invisible and undistinguished within us, that traps us, that binds us, that enslaves us. So I'm going to describe your inner world with a lot more precision than maybe you're used to using this frame. So where are you now first, though? Before we can get anywhere, let's consider what a GPS does for us, right? It helps us get to our destination, but only by identifying precisely where we are right now, right? It pinpoints our current location, and then it will pinpoint the destination, and it finds a way from our location to our destination. So let's bring an honest and compassionate light to the reality of your life right now. Now I'm on a 3-day fast. I'm literally in the 3rd day. Before we find your location, I'm noticing it is a little challenging to deliver the video. And the 3-day fast for me is a way to cleanse. It's a good time to rest. I decided to persevere through to do the live stream, which takes a lot of energy. And in the 3rd day here, I'm like, I feel good, but I feel like I need to relax and rest more. And I committed to completing this. So here I am. But it feels good. If you've not fasted, by the way, just a side note, I think I need to share this. Fasting is one of the most powerful ways that I've transformed my life. Set myself free from drug addiction, crime, life of crime, drug dealing, bad habits and patterns, people and places and things. The fasting just weakened the flesh, and it set me free. It allowed me to experience the inner world of the spirit, the kingdom of God within us. And that was how I started my journey back in 2000. And I really, I've been fasting periodically ever since. And I think it was like maybe 6 months ago, I did a 5-day fast, all water or some non-caffeinated teas. Highly recommend it. So Let's now pause for a minute, take a deep breath in, exhale through the mouth. And we're going to bring this honest but compassionate light to the reality of your life right now. This is step one in actually getting free and getting to where you want to be. And I'm someone who's actually been right there with you. It's all welcome and safe here, so no judgment, just truth, okay? Be willing, be courageous, be real. Do you actually wake up tired every day? Are you uninspired? Do you just start scrolling? Are you numbing out with weed or pills? Maybe alcohol? Do you hide from humanity? Are you pretending to be powerful but not really feeling it deep down inside? Is there this inner conflict, a war maybe that's raging within you and you're just avoiding it at all costs? Maybe you crave brotherhood, craving connection with others, other men that you know you can run with, but you isolate. You want purpose, but you feel lost. Do you want to lead, but doubt your worth? Do you doubt the value that you have to bring to the world? Are you worried and concerned that you won't be enough, that you'll be found out? What I'm going to show you isn't just a set of superficial discipline hacks to apply to your behavior. We're going to go much deeper. We're going to go to the core. It's about identity, fundamentally. All right. The real you is not broken. He's just been buried underneath this mire, this muck. And we're going to have to go there to take a look and release the man that's been buried within. So now that we know somewhat where we are, let's take another deeper look. You pause for a minute and examine yourself. Are you content? Are you really fulfilled? Are you missing something in life? Are you missing the relationship you want? The sense of purpose and meaning that you want? Are you missing the income that you want? What is it that's not present for you that you would love to have? Are there fears that you're not facing that you feel though? Are you covering things up? Just take a moment to reflect on that. Feel into your own body. Be real with you. Let's welcome whatever's really, really on the inside. It's going to make this experience much more powerful for you. Good. So just be with that. There's nothing to change. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to force. We're going to allow the word, the guidance, the awareness to bring about transformation, to release you through the rest of this journey in this video. So we're going to start with stage one, which I had mentioned before, and that is the slave of self-illusion. Stage one, slave of self-illusion. This is where many men today are really living this quiet war within themselves. They're feeling disconnected from their purpose. They're ashamed of their own desires. They're uncertain of their power, and they are confused about what it even means to be a man. They carry low-level frustration, shame, anxiety, but can't quite name where it's coming from. It's just a feeling, and maybe it's faint, maybe it's loud. Instead of slowing down to actually feel this, you are speeding up, you're working harder, you're trying to push through, or you're sedating and you're just shutting down. What's really happening is this. We've been trained, both men and women really, but conditioned to suppress the spiritual architecture within. There is a framework of character development that most of us don't know. The deeper masculine energies that give life structure, power, love, and transformation can be understood, can be worked with, and you can mature inside of them when you're aware. They'll also expose the darker forces lurking within. And when those energies that are suppressed and distorted or left undeveloped, that causes the shadow forms to emerge. And the shadow forms cause us problems. And I'm going to talk about those more in a bit. Buried parts of the true self, they're operating in fear, their avoidance. This is overcompensating. I call this state self-illusion, because this is where we've mistaken our performance and doing the right thing or getting achievements and so on for presence. Instead of being fully present as we are authentically, we're filled with masks. We've got this image that's posing for identity, and we're chasing stimulation instead of embodying the fullness of our soul. And when you recognize these patterns, name the actual archetypes, and begin the descent into the unconscious, then a new path will open up for you. This is the path from or through the shadow into sovereignty. And below, in the rest of this dark area, and beneath the even worst parts of it, we will find something miraculous. So I'm going to cover the 4 dominant masculine archetypes and how their shadows distort our lives along with the way out. All right. So they all have a mature version that is aligned with authenticity and divine power. When these mature aspects are suppressed, that's when the shadows rule. This is how we can reclaim and embody the sovereignty of the invincible kingdom within. So we're going to explore stage 2, which is welcoming the wounded warrior. At this stage, we go from reaction to responsibility. This is the first part of you that's always bracing for a fight, never at peace, or always on the edge. Definitely something I'm very familiar with. It's where, we walk into the room scanning for threats, automatically, unconsciously, or maybe consciously. We're tightening up in conflict. We feel like we've got to prove ourselves, to protect ourselves, defend ourselves, even if nobody's coming for us. And I've lived like this for years. Growing up around all the violence that I grew up, my nervous system got severely conditioned this way. Now, in this stage, you could be angry, but you don't know why. You're reactive, defensive, easily triggered. And underneath all that fire is really this pain that you haven't fully felt, grief that you haven't given yourself permission to face. There may be moments of helplessness. There may be humiliation. There may be betrayal that you've buried deep within. You cannot be with it. Don't want anyone to see it. And then you've built this wall of rage around yourself. So the shadow archetype of the warrior, more specifically, does have a set of names. And those names are, number 1, the aggressor or the sadist. This is where we use anger to dominate, to intimidate, or to control. And we thrive on conflict instead of purpose. It's a very destructive, abusive state to others outwardly. Okay. It could be verbally. It could even turn out to be physical abuse. It depends. So the second passive part, that was the active, right? More front facing part. The passive shadow is the avoider or the masochist. And the avoider or the masochist is retreating from conflict or challenges. They're self-sabotaging. In this stage, we're internalizing aggression at this level of the shadow. We fear our own power and we are avoiding confrontation, right? We've seen rage expressed in destructive ways, and so we shun that, and so we drop back. Our warrior has now defaulted into this, the avoider or the masochist, and the masochist means to self-abuse, right? Like this is self-abuser. And that can even be self-harm that shows up in certain people because their warrior archetype has been suppressed so severely. The world, unfortunately, has a distortion in their perception and of the warrior, and is really bad, so bad that most men either suppress the warrior out of fear or they end up unleashing the warrior without any wisdom. But true warrior energy is not about rage. It's not about violence. It's not about domination. It's not about destroying people and things. It's not about becoming untouchable or having this iron fortress of protection. It's actually about powerful presence and then protection of all and the well-being of all. And it's about purpose. It's about standing in the fire with a clear head and an open heart co-simultaneously. So if you haven't healed the parts of you that felt powerless and helpless, if you haven't faced your own shame, your pain, or your weakness, you're either going to overcompensate with aggression like the sadistic warrior, or you're going to collapse into avoidance like the masochistic warrior, right? In both cases, you're going to feel lost either way. Because the real warrior doesn't fight to destroy. Okay, his purpose is actually to protect. He's here to build, to expand the kingdom, to hold the line, protect the kingdom. Not here for his ego, but he's here for his mission. And once you get mission aligned in a powerful, purposeful way, because you've healed the warrior within, it's beautiful. So let's take a moment to get a little bit more aware on the inside. I invite you to close your eyes, breathe into your belly, ask yourself honestly, what am I always fighting for or against? Take a breath into that and then exhale. And just notice where you feel in conflict with others, with situations in your life. What are you always fighting for? What are you always fighting against? Just like an automatic urge to fight. Just welcome that. Allow that to be here. Feel a little deeper into this. There's nothing to change or fix about yourself in this space of awareness. But can you sit with whatever pain is really underneath that urge to fight for or against something? Can you simply welcome it and allow it? Can you love on it? Can you give some care to what's really there? Can you be with the feeling of wanting to fight, or maybe wanting to avoid and flee, to hide? Can you just welcome and invite it into awareness without trying to fix it, without resisting it? And if there is resistance, can you also have that resistance? If there's any part of you that wants to run from it, can you be with that as well? Let's take a breath into that. And let that go. Good. So here's some questions to consider and explore a little bit more. Where have you been reactive instead of responsive? Where do you just fly off the handle, say whatever you want, do whatever you want, not really thinking? Just take a moment to consider that. We're just getting aware. There's nothing to change. Okay, we're not fixing these parts of you. This is an awareness practice. We're just becoming aware of patterns, and awareness itself is transformative. I promise you. Just welcome where you've been reactive instead of responsive, and then consider if there's a part of you that believes that your anger is dangerous or even shameful. Do you judge your own anger? Do you hate your own anger? Do you resist your own anger? Are you suppressing it in some way, forcefully? Just take a look. Just see, just welcome what you discover. Good. Good. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Okay, we're going to release that. And we're just taking a look inside. We're having some space develop for ourselves. It's powerful for you to be able to welcome and honor what's there. Now we're going to move to stage 3. This is where we begin to liberate the addicted lover and go from craving to connection. So this shadow doesn't always look like pain. Sometimes the shadow of the lover looks like passion, but underneath it is this hunger, this insatiable hunger. It's a desperate craving for connection, and it's connected with a deep fear of being seen or carrying some level of shame. This part of you is actually starving for a ton of love, just wants love like crazy, wants intimacy, wants emotional presence, but you've been broken down, let's say, so much from past relationship experiences, maybe family dynamics, It could be a lot of different things, even in school, whatever. But that emotional presence that you crave is something that you also don't trust being open to. You don't feel safe to receive it. You don't believe that you're worthy of it, maybe at some level. Or worse, maybe you fear that if someone got really close to you, they would see the shame. They would see the quote unquote ugly within you. Getting really, you know, exposed feels frightening to most of us because we have these core convictions that something's wrong, something's bad about who or what we are. And we've been carrying this underneath all of that strange, crazy, addicted lover behavior. All right. So I'm going to explore the archetype a little bit more intimately. The shadow, particularly the active shadow, is the addictive lover, also known as the codependent. We're chasing validation at this stage. This is where we overgive. We're just trying to get whatever we want. We'll give anything to get it. We're clinging to the fantasies that we have about a person or thing. And we just, we're just so into the infatuation, or we're craving attention to somehow muster up a sense of self-worth. That's the addicted lover. That's the active shadow. Then we have the impotent lover. And this is the passive shadow. This is even lower level, okay? The impotent lover, I also call it the isolate or the victim, right? We're isolating or we're just in a state of victim and withdrawn. The impotent lover is shut down. They're escaping into porn, gaming, right? Avoiding relationship dynamics, avoiding women at all costs. Or, we are fantasizing to avoid the risk of real intimacy, but it's a very crude level of fantasy. It just doesn't really satisfy. And we are empty and depleted. We might actually, at this level of the shadow, mistake emotional chaos for love. We might confuse attention as the addicted lover with connection. We might use sex or spirituality to feel wanted as an addicted lover. But underneath all of that, we're actually terrified of really being known. And that's what we just need to get present to. That's what we just need to get real about. We don't want anyone to see what's going on inside. And I know this very well. I felt this dramatically. I didn't even know that this was going on. It was so buried within. It took years of work within small groups and coaching settings that I was even leading, but having people supporting me and then participating in other groups and events to really get aware of how much I was suppressing, how terrified I really was. So the shadow of the lover is desperate to really feel something. That's why they're chasing all the pleasure. But they're terrified of feeling everything that they've got going on inside, right? This is where we are either clinging or collapsing. Clinging as the addicted lover, collapsing as the impotent lover. We're overreaching or we're withdrawing. We want that love, but we resist vulnerability. We want devotion, but as I said already, we're fearing exposure because being devoted and fully open and intimate with someone is going to cause us to have to reveal ourselves all the way through to our core. And so many of us carry so much shame. We are convinced that something is terribly wrong at our core, that this is why we mask and we do all these crazy things in the active shadow of the addicted lover. So let's do a little awareness practice, a little deeper level awareness practice with these distinctions alive. You can bring your hand to your heart. You can close your eyes if you like, or keep them open. It's up to you. Take a deep breath in. Mouth it out. Just feel into your heart, feel into your body. And ask yourself, what kind of love am I seeking right now? What kind of love am I seeking right now? Don't worry if answers don't come. Just be with the question. Let the question soak in without lusting for an answer. What kind of love am I seeking right now? Being curious with that question. Are you seeking real connection or just a fix because of the fear of being alone? Just look honestly within yourself. There's nothing to punish or make wrong. Just getting real is about compassion. Getting real is about seeing that everything within you is worthy of love. You got to be willing to see you first. And you can love and embrace these parts of you. Take a deep breath in and mouth out. Good. So here are some more questions that you can use to explore. When do you feel most unworthy of love? And then how do you compensate? When do you feel unworthy of love, and how do you try to make up for that? Do you medicate in some way? Do you do some kind of distracting thing? Are you chasing girls through the hookup culture of Tinder and other apps where you just kind of swipe left and right, make a phone call, meet, go sleep with someone? It's compensating. Do you feel good about it afterwards? Is there still an emptiness there? Yeah. Take a deep breath into that and let it out. Now, this one is going to require an even greater look, an honest look. What are you avoiding by staying in shallow or fantasy-driven relationships? Relationships where you're not satisfied, where there is no real connection, and you know it, but you're afraid to leave. You're projecting a fantasy. Just be willing to see the truth for yourself as best you can. Welcome all of it with love, compassion. Notice how you feel in your body. All of your feelings get to be seen and felt here just as they are. There is nothing to do with them or about them other than to just have them. This is the progress that we make as a man on our journey into sovereignty. The progress is that we descend into the valley or the pit, and we explore. We learn to be with what's there. We don't have to conquer it with violence. We need to embrace it with compassion, right? And that's going to allow us to move through that valley or move through that pit and reach that mountaintop or reach that peak and celebrate a new degree of life. So what have you been avoiding by staying in relationships that are shallow or fantasy driven? Just let that question be released through a nice deep breath. Exhale. Good. So now we're going to move into stage 4, where we awaken the avoidant alchemist. This is where we go from escaping to actually embracing. So this one runs a little bit deeper than the others sometimes. It's this part of you that's not disconnected, or that is disconnected, not having the meaning that you want. It's disconnected from a sense of meaning, not because you don't care, but because you've actually learned to survive in a shallow way, without any depth, without any spirit, at a very analytical level, maybe intellectually, right? But the embodiment of being isn't there. There's no presence really. You're avoiding transformation at this level. You stay stuck in your head. You avoid the fire, which brings light and heat that transforms. You tell yourself that you're evolving because you're analytically ascending, but you're really just rearranging the furniture in your mind, which is like rearranging the furniture in your house. And this house is actually meant to burn, to blaze, and to go forth, but we're trapped up. So let me share with you the shadow archetypes. There's the passive and active as usual, and the active shadow is the overanalyzer. We're overthinking everything. We're obsessing over getting more insight, figuring out how it all actually works, but we resist taking action, right? We're completely in our head, but completely disconnected from taking the action we need. This is where we're using our intellect to avoid a certain kind of discomfort. Fear of failure, fear of success, whatever it may be, right? Fear of rejection, fear of being exposed. Analytically, overanalyzing, that checks us out. But the thing is, we think that's a security. We think there's something great about that. We defend that. So we don't see that as a barrier to integration. We don't see it as a barrier to embodiment of sovereignty, but it is. And the passive shadow is the manipulator. The manipulator actually twists knowledge in order to maintain control. This is really I'm sorry, this is still part of the active shadow. I shouldn't have said passive. I'm, like I said, fasting. And I noticed that my mind is a little more like, ooh, like, so it's a little bit difficult for me to move through my notes. I'm doing the best I can. But the manipulator is seen in, let's look at like where we have like, these giant lawsuits that come against pharmaceutical companies, where they're just abusing their power, their influence. This is the shadow alchemist, right? They're twisting knowledge in order to maintain control. Criminals are operating heavily in this area. They appear wise, but they're hiding truth from themselves and they're hiding truth from others. Dangerous place to be. As a drug dealing criminal, I was operating in this shadow. The passive shadows are the escapist / fantasizer. The escapist is avoiding responsibility by disappearing into various routines, abstract ideas in their mind, pure isolation, whatever it is. The fantasizer is actually projecting into the future, whatever success they think they're going to have, and just satisfied with the projection, but not the reality. They're avoiding the present. They avoid the action. They're dreaming without doing. This fantasizer phase, this is really something we got to move through carefully by welcoming it like everything else. This shadow alchemist is where we're consuming all kinds of content. We're resisting integration, though, of our own inner parts, right? The pursuit of content, of information, helps us suppress and avoid further what's going on inside. We could be emotionally disconnected, and that's how we get away with it. We're performing, the expression of having depth through intellect and knowledge, but we're actually avoiding feeling and embodiment. It's very subtle because from the outside, it looks like growth and we can be praised for our intellect quite a bit, but it's actually a stalling and it keeps you safe, but you're never actually operating in full embodied sovereignty. So let's do this simple awareness practice. Take a deep breath in first and through the nose, out through the mouth. Good. And feel into your body, feel into your mind, feel into your whole being, and just start to become aware of where you are delaying action in the favor of more learning. Where do you delay action so that you can learn more, get it all right, get it all figured out? Ask yourself, what am I pretending to be preparing for? What am I pretending to be preparing for? Right? With this kind of self-deception that if I prepare enough, then I'll begin. Just consider where you're procrastinating, where you're avoiding the work in pursuit of knowledge constantly, but not doing anything with it. Something I can relate to very well in my past. Today, I've integrated this powerfully. I love knowledge still. That's a strong part of me. I've matured the alchemist within me, but I do a lot. I accomplish a lot with that knowledge. I turn that knowledge into action. I've been doing that for 20 years plus, and I'm very grateful to have disciplined and trained myself to be able to do that. And I still had wounds, though, to heal that were still there to make it easier over the years. So here's some reflection questions to ponder around the shadow of the alchemist. Where have you traded movement for the mental loops that just continue to cycle over and over and over? You just keep running around the same idea over and over and over. I have a friend of mine that has a beautiful idea that brings so much joy and pleasure and power to the world and be very profitable. But he's been looping over and over and over in the mind. Where have you been looping in the mind? Avoiding the movement of action. Good. Let's look at the second question. What truth have you been avoiding behind the mask of spiritual development? This is where we find a lot of alchemists in their shadow, in this false spirituality. It's more informative. They have a lot of knowledge, but they don't really live it. They're not acting on it. They're not producing powerfully because of it, right? Notice if that shows up in your world anywhere. And again, just everything you see, everything you experience inside of these questions, and even if nothing's there at all, it's all perfect. Everything gets to be welcomed with love and compassion. We're not fixing anything. We're just coming to truth. To be a mature man, we got to start telling the truth so we can start living the truth. We've been living a lie and we haven't admitted that to ourselves. All right, let's move on to stage 5. Stage 5 is where we raise the sleeping sovereign. This is where we're moving from, control as a tyrant to creative authority as a king, as a real ruler, authentic and empowered and embodied sovereignty. So this is the man who acts, in the shadow stage of the king or the sovereign. He's acting like he's got it all under control. He's the guy who's totally fine, doesn't need any help, who thinks, being a man means being in charge all the time, right? It can get to an extreme state where it's, forceful and tyrannical. But the truth is, this man is hiding. This is where, we're confused and we think that power is, the same as healthy performance and operation and production in the world, but it's not. This is where we lead from our ego instead of from the presence and the beingness of life itself, right? The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, is the life in you that wants to shine, but there's a lot of stuff in the way that buries that. So we're avoiding vulnerability in the shadow of the sovereign, and we're resisting truth because we're actually afraid that if people saw what's really going on, just like the other shadows, that this image that we have of ourselves, of leader, would fall apart. We're afraid to be weak. So I'm going to explore the shadows more intimately. The active shadow of the sovereign is the tyrant or the dominator, right? This is where we express power as oppressive control, right? We're seeking to dominate everyone, everything. We could be a micromanager. We could be isolating in this stage 2 and overcompensating because of deep fear and insecurity, right? This outward expression of force is covering up and masking this inferiority within. When I was a gang member, drug dealing criminal, I walked in violence. I looked for fights. I just was trying to prove something. And since I've gotten really honest with myself, the truth was I was so scared inside. I needed to be tough in my image in order to for me to not see how weak and helpless I was feeling on the inside. So check yourself to see where this might show up at all. And then we're going to look at the passive shadow, which is the weakling, or the abdicator, the one who abdicates his throne, gives it up completely, right? Abandons the throne. We're avoiding leadership at this stage. It's like the weakling king, right? Succumbing to fear. We're indecisive. We're avoiding the chaos altogether because we're afraid. We don't trust ourselves. We don't believe in our power. We don't have any direction, right? The king brings order. The sovereign is about ordering the chaos. But when we're fearful, right, and we believe that we're helpless, then we avoid it altogether. So as soon as things get a little chaotic, we shrink. All right. There's a lot of men today really falling into this pattern, dropping out altogether from their families, away from their children. It's pretty wild, from their job, right? From life itself. So in the shadows of the king, the sovereign, we have the tyrant that rules by force, and we have the weakling that's really just running from responsibility. Let's just say it like that. Completely running from responsibility. Avoiding the throne at all costs, right? Because being on the throne puts you in front of the world, doesn't it, right? You got a lot of eyes, a lot of attention on you. You're responsible. You're directing. You're commanding, right? So if things work, you get the praises. If they don't work, you get the curses, right? So either way, both of these erode trust within ourselves. When we're operating from the tyrant, operating from the weakling, we lose our vision, we lose our sense of trust, we lose a sense of inner peace. There's no power present. But the sovereign really isn't about status. He's not here to actually be admired. We're not looking for admiration. We're not trying to sit on the throne so that we could be praised as the king, right, over our kingdom. We're actually here to bring order. We're benevolent. We bring direction to the lives of other people, to the kingdom itself. We bring blessing, right? We're actually leading with this full-bodied presence, love and compassion, care and authority, but not pressure and force. We're leading with truth. We're not leading with just an image that looks good. All right, so let's take a little bit more of an examination of ourselves through this awareness practice. Take a deep breath in, mouth out. Feel through the spine, sitting up nice and straight as if you're on the throne. Let your head reach up to the sky, tailbone pressing down into the throne, that seat of power and authority. Feel into your heart space and just consider where you might be leading from fear of being exposed. Where are you leading from a fear of being exposed, fear of looking weak, fear of looking helpless? If there's anything like that showing up, just welcome, allow, be with whatever's there. Or are you leading with devotion to what you're here to build? What are you devoted to building, to bring forth in the world? That serves the kingdom, that builds the kingdom itself. What do you feel in your body? Do you feel weak, like the weakling king? If so, don't worry. Just be with it. Maybe you don't even know what weakness feels like. Maybe you're so much more inside of the tyrannical, active shadow of the king. Feeling tough, feeling strong, with iron walls. Can you welcome that? How it feels in the body, either way. Be gentle and kind to whatever you're discovering. That's the secret to this practice. It transforms beautifully, gently. Take a deep breath in, mouth out. Good. So here's some reflection questions to go a little bit deeper if you like. Where in my life am I performing leadership instead of embodying it? Just say that to yourself. Where in my life am I performing leadership instead of embodying it? Could be at work, could be at home, in your social groups, communities, right? Where in my life am I performing leadership instead of embodying it? Just notice. All you get to do here is be aware. And if you're really gentle and sincere, honest about what's really there, you'll start to feel some degree of relief. If you're real. Let go of the suppression and the hiding. Now consider, what would it feel like and what would it look like if you were governing your family or you're at your job or your own business, whatever it is, from a place of clarity rather than control? What if you saw more about how to handle things? You were clear and you have leverage and you can direct, right? Your kingdom servants, whatever those may be, could be tools, resources, could be people, but you're actually getting support and you're clear about where you're going. You have an expanded view of the future. What does that feel like? Just be open to that, curious about it, feel into that. Good. What would it be like to relinquish the control and the forcefulness of trying to manage it all with force? What would it feel like to let that go? What would it feel like to allow grace to take over all areas of your life right now as the sovereign who is empowered with a divine blessing? Where there's a flow, it directs you. It does through you what needs to be done. It speaks through you what needs to be spoken. Just consider that possibility, just thinking of that, feeling into that opens you up to the possibility of living into it as an experience. Okay, good. So this is the work. This is where we're illuminating and also naming the shadows. This allows you to bring the fragmented energy that has been trapped and suppressed back into alignment with the core of being itself. To reclaim the lover, the alchemist, the warrior, and the sovereign. These are 4 dimensions that live within you that you claim. You expand into each one, right? And all 4 of those make up the invincible man. The invincible man is the source and substance of all life itself. The invincible man within you brought you forth into existence. He's been buried. In these shadows, we find him. This is where we go to dig deep, to uncover and unearth the man that always was, the man that always is, and the man that will be. This is the universal patterned man, the being of beings, and it's in every man. And we're here to dig and uncover that man, to release that man, to move from that fragmentation state, all disconnected, disempowered, to an integrated state. We're going from buried potential to the experience of embodied, fully embodied power. And this is where we go from the slave to the sovereign. And so, if you're tired of faking it as a man, tired of being a slave to fear, then it's time for you to rise, and you will not rise alone. You weren't meant to rise alone. We are designed to participate and belong to other brothers who are there challenging us, supporting us. Brotherhood is the bridge to sovereignty. It has transformed my life powerfully. I roll with a powerful group of men today. I wouldn't be who I am without them, without their feedback, without their mirroring, without their modeling, without their support, without their willingness to see even the worst, darkest parts of me without making that wrong, but just honoring it because they relate to that. Well, that's possible for you. And it's possible inside of the Invincible Man group that's going to be happening Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. In this group, we're not experiencing or creating therapeutic work at all. It's really about being what you really are fundamentally. Nothing to fix. There's nothing to diagnose about you. But we do want to identify what it is that's been holding you back. Honestly, it's not therapy. It's also not a Band-Aid. This is not something to just make you feel better. This is transformative work that we're going to be exploring together weekly. Got a bunch of brothers already ready to hop in and participate. These are men that have walked the path with me already. They know how to hold space. They've gotten real with themselves. They're not afraid of their own shadow. They're not afraid of their vulnerability. This type of modeling for you can be a hugely transformative experience. When we're doing this together, it's powerful. It's transformative. And basically offering a free 30-day immersion into the experience. And if you go to I'm going to put it in the into the comments. If you're interested in checking it out, you can do so. And we're going to have these weekly brotherhood calls. We're going to experience and explore mentorship together. We're going to face our challenges together. We're going to have real conversations. We're going to experience the truth that transforms by telling the truth, not being ashamed, being welcomed for that, honored for that. It does something to your neurochemistry. It does something to your biochemistry. Your emotional state is going to shift. Everything about you is going to change when you're in an environment where those parts of you that you haven't even been able to be with are welcomed and honored, and a light is brought to that, loving light, powerful light, transformative light. And it's honestly, it's a great way to accelerate your path into freedom, into power, into prosperity. Trying to do this game alone did not work for me. I was the lone wolf for many years. It just did not work. What we have here is a path to purpose, to power, to peace within, finally, which we've not had for a long time. Feels amazing to have that. And also to prosperity in all areas of our life, in our physical body, in our beingness and relationship with God and the divine within, whatever that means for you as a man. There must be an attunement to the power of powers. The aliveness that you experience in your being comes from something that's vastly expansive, and you can experience and encounter that right within inside your own body. All right. And religion has not done us justice to get us there. All right. So I love all the religions. If we study them deeply and intimately enough, we can find truth and we can find an experience and even a direct encounter with the divine. But oftentimes it defaults into belief systems and who's right, who's wrong, and, you know, do it this way or else. And there's all kinds of weird structures that form in these religious communities. But in here, we're going straight to the heart of the matter. Nothing needs to be hidden. Nothing. The shame, the guilt, the lust, the greed, the fear, the violence, the rage, all of it's welcome. Every bit of it is welcome. And it does something to a man when a man can actually have all of those parts of himself without thinking that something's wrong with him. It sets him free. So if that's something you want to experience, just go to IamInvincibleMan.com and you'll be able to register for the 30-day immersion, which is my gift to you. And you get to experience what I'm doing there with other brothers and leaders there. Powerful experience. I promise you, you don't want to miss it. It's highly interactive and engaging. You'll be able to connect and build friendships, relationships with others who will support you. If you like this video, please like it. Hit the like button. If you like this type of content, if you're willing to support my channel, subscribe to it. I'm looking to reach other men and women, people all over the world with transformative technologies that I've been working on developing and practicing and sharing with others effectively for 25 years now. And it's getting better than ever. As I mentioned earlier, I'm on a 3-day fast. I'm in the 3rd day right now of no food, just water and some non-caffeinated mountain tea with ginger. So I do feel a little like I just want to sit, chill, meditate, rest. But I did the live stream. I showed up anyway. And I mentioned this because the fasting, especially as a man who's struggling and trying to break free from strongholds, it's a very powerful way to clear your mind, clear your emotions, clear your body, get into clear thinking and experience an impulse of grace. I mean, literally this life that wants to take you forward in a direction that you could not see otherwise. When our body's heavy, when we overconsume food, and our body's stiff and tight and full, and it hasn't had a chance to just rest and relax from digestion, it's very difficult to spiritually attune, to feel the power of divinity in us. But men who are meant to be sovereign are meant to walk with the divine, fully embodied. This is the calling. This is what you're made for. And so fasting can be a great way. I recommend looking it up, checking out some different ways to fast. Water fasts, no calories whatsoever, to me is the most powerful, but you want to check, yourself, make sure you know that that's healthy for you, do some research on it, but I highly recommend it. So if you'd like to join me for the first Invincible Man group experience, the immersion, you get 30 days. That's basically 4 weeks or so with us, and it'll be powerful, transformative. It'll be worth every minute of your time. I promise you it's going to take you to a whole new level of your life. And it's going to take your relationships to a whole nother level. But most importantly, it's going to take your relationship to the power of God within you to a whole new level. Because that is the relationship we're all really seeking, the oneness with the source of it all. And when that experience is present, nothing can stop you. And you lead with love. You have power and you have presence. You're on purpose. You are prosperous. Everything in your life works. And that's what we're craving. We're not faking it. We're not pretending. We're not imaging. We're not overachieving to try and prove our worth to humanity. We're not hiding. We're not backing out. We're not succumbing. We're not sedating. We're not medicating, right? With drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, all those things that so many men today are trapped in. And look, there's nothing to be ashamed of. You're craving love. You're craving connection. You're craving aliveness. You're craving divinity. But you have not been directed in the right direction, and you've been shamed and shunned even for some of the most healthy and beautiful qualities that you have as a man. And because of that shame, you have felt forced to find other ways of satisfaction that just don't work. And so you don't have to do that anymore. So I appreciate you being here with me through this. You've always known that there's more. You've always known there's a deeper life for you. You've always known there's a bolder man inside of you, a truer self, and he's waiting. Like I said, buried within. In this video, we tapped in a little bit. We explored that inner world. You could see how gentle it can be to move into the darkness, to move into the shadows. It doesn't have to be frightening, and it doesn't have to be aggressive. It can be gentle, calming, and it's actually soothing to the soul. So the link is in the comments. If you want to join, it's also in the description of this video, and would love to see you there. I am invincibleman.com. That's where you go. Check it out. You can learn a lot more on that page. There's a testimonial video from some of the men's groups I've been doing, was doing back in 2020. I got some good testimonials from those guys there. I've done men's groups that I just haven't gotten testimonials for in person, which are really amazing as well. These will be online. You can attend from anywhere. So appreciate you. Would love to see any comments you have, questions you have, drop them in. Love to know that you're here. And thanks for being you. And thanks for being a man who's called to a higher purpose and hearing the call, but listening to it. Because that's where it matters the most, is are you taking action? Are you hearing the call and moving forward? Okay? We're going to move forward and we're going to descend into the shadows, and we're going to integrate what has been disintegrated, what has been cut off, suppressed, shamed, shunned, denied, unwanted, hated. And we're going to bring those pieces to the surface into salvation. Because everything within us is worthy of love. We've just never been taught that. We were taught the opposite. In fact, we've been taught that so much within us is not worthy of love, and it's time to bring that to an end so that you can be the man that you're called to be. So I'd love to see you in the group. Thank you again. Like, subscribe. If you value this experience, happy to share more with you in the group space. Bless you, and I will see you soon.